Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good. I would call.
G'day, Ballers, and welcome to the Ballr NRL SuperCoach podcast. My name's Jono, coach of Hungry for More, and Merry SuperCoach Christmas, everyone. The first full round of Teamless Tuesday, full round one has dropped, and we are excited. We are going to be going through the must-haves, the traps, and with me to do it are a couple of Ballers' best and brightest. Here on the Ballr SuperCoach podcast, I'd like to introduce by rank. And technically, our first guest is now the highest-ranked Ballr contributor. He is the Sultan of Spicy Takes, the Prince of Pods, the coach of TubesPODs, Tubes!
Geez, Jono, thanks for that intro. I was getting ready to roast you over that cliche Christmas or Christmas joke that you keep making about TLT. It is an exciting time. But yes, I am 12th overall in the Ballr League, so I'm flying high after the weekend, ready to go for this week.
Can I correct you? I believe you're 11th, Tubes. I had a look today. I don't know if there's been some updates. You were at number 11th when I had a look prepping the pod.
Must have kicked out someone that some fake teams.
All right, second on the run sheet, and we'll see if he's get himself back up to first on the call sheet in future episodes. But he is a 4-time in a row top 500 finisher, including a number 23 last year. He is the self-proclaimed head honcho of Ballr podcasting. He's the coach of the Terrace Crew. Matty Ricks, how you going, Matty?
I'm good, mate. I don't feel like the head honcho this week. Like you boys, the energy that you brought to the snap the other night with your big Sunday, both vice-captain and Ponga, big well done's everywhere. Tubes has come tonight dressed like John C. Reilly from Step Brothers. I just feel like I've just got to take a backwards step and I've really got to collect my thoughts after what's been like. I've been rattled a bit, and it wasn't even that rattling, the Teamless Tuesday, but I feel rattled. My team's in shambles, and so I really want to unpack it tonight.
I'm looking forward to talking to you about our Ballr Blueprint topic, which we'll get to, because I feel like you guys are going to have differing opinions, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. Speaking of rattled, Matt, bit of feedback on your performance on last week's Round Zero pod. What are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I had a bit of self-reflection too. I was doing a draft while the pod was on. It actually happened twice to me last week. And it's not SuperCoach. It's this other game called Nearly NRL. Shout out to Nearly NRL. It's my 20th season playing with my mates back in Sydney. And I've never missed one. So I did the draft while doing the pod. Not the most professional. And all I can do is say that I'm going to make up for it tonight with some tough carries coming out of our own end. And I'm fired up because I've done a lot of work for today's pod.
All right, I like it. Well, fellas, before we get into the Round 1 Teamless Tuesday, which I'm very excited to do, a reminder as always, search for us, Ballr NRL on X, Facebook and Instagram, and search for Ballr SuperCoach on YouTube and TikTok. We appreciate everyone who likes, follows, comments, subscribes. We really do appreciate it. And we do notice the ballers out there who, every time we put a call out in the pod, people get in there and do it, and we really appreciate it. Helps the podcast continue to grow. We also, if you want to have a chat with us, jump over onto the Ballers Only Discord, ballr.live/Discord. That's BALLR. Just a great place to chat about all the Teamless Tuesday, get your team analysed by the community, and have a general chat about SuperCoach. It is a lot of fun.
Big one. Can I just say,
yeah,
we're raising the bat tonight to the Discord. We've just tipped over 500 community members in the Discord. So massive achievement, and yeah, loving every single one of those balls in Discord.
No, it's fantastic. But the big push, Ballr 10K League. So head over to the Ballr Prize League section of ballr.live. This is the biggest prize for any free-to-join league. You get $7,500 for first place. Second place gets $1,000, and third through fifth get $500 each. Just incredible. You don't have to pay a cent. All you have to do is take the 30 seconds to sign up at ballr.live, and you can join that league. You'd be absolutely crazy not to. Tell your friends. And we have a leader, Harley, coach of Nathan Tinkerers after the Vegas. He actually featured an all-Vegas lineup for his 1,300 points, Harley. I don't know how long he's going to be able to hold on to that leading spot with all of his players coming from those 4 clubs and one of them on the bye next round. But shout out, Harley, for getting yourself to the top of the leaderboard so far.
Mate, I'll just correct you there. Harley's actually in second place. It's Craig, coach of Too Deadly.
Oh, my bad.
He's in first place with the 1,300. Big shout out to Nathan Tinkerer, though, Harley. He's second on 836.
There you go. Oh, sorry, I've completely stuffed that up. So is the other guy the one who's got the All Vegas?
Craig.
There you go.
The All Vegas. Mr. Las Vegas.
All right, well, Juice.
He's ranked first overall too in the whole of SuperCoach.
He's got all his players from 4 teams.
1,301 is a good score like for the whole week, let alone for 2
Yeah,
games.
but he's gone for the season. That's one I don't have to worry about taking over from you. I'm considering myself 10th now.
Jono, you mentioned the 10K league and all you have to do is sign up at Ballr, but like it's not just the 10K league then you get access to. It's the rate, it's all the new tools we got, all the player stats that are coming. The Rate My Team, which is going bananas. We've updated the player card there today, or about to anyway. So you can go and get your own team rated, share it with your friends. Good fun. We had an 8.5 was the highest in Discord that anyone's been able to create. So yeah, I urge you to join the 10K league, sign up to Ballr, and then just get along and check out our great SuperCoach tools.
Yeah, and that's 8.5 is by Dave Taylor Fan Club, who is now the winner of a YGI shirt. So he's going to reach out to you, Matty, through the Discord and get his YGI shirt. Hopefully we see what Tubes is modelling there.
Young GI. Give it its proper
Young GI,
terminology.
Gerhemit Shibasaki, a.k.a. YGI, yes. Absolutely. So the other thing is the Ballr Match Centre. Just absolutely unbelievable.
Ooh.
If you want to wait on the SuperCoach app like a chump for 5 minutes after every attacking play comes through, be my guest. But if you want to be on the fastest website in all of NRL SuperCoach with the updated stats, perform, scoring, you've got to get yourself to the Ballr Live Match Centre. It updates as you're watching the game. You see a tackle, the point comes up on your screen. And I'll tell you what, when Ryan Couchman was making all those tackles, I was loving those points coming through the other day.
Unbelievable, Jono. We've got we're the only place to get instantaneous data for SuperCoach. So it is a must-have companion for watching SuperCoach. Now, Tubes did a great deal of justice on the snap the other night. But like you said, it's the official data. No one can get this. You can't get it from NRL. We've only got it with our partnership with Stats Perform. SuperCoach have obviously got it too, but they're, as we all know, about a couple of minutes behind what's actually going on. So that's free. Just go on the site. Don't even need to sign up for that. Obviously, while you're there, you should sign up because that's how you join the 10K league. But just go there. You can check out the live scores. Like, it's just must have while the game's going on.
I'm thinking we should go to this Storm Eels game on Thursday
I'd love
night,
to.
Matt. And Ballr.live is updating so quick, we might be able to. We could see who's scoring the next try and sneak on.
That's the next stage.
It's absolutely flying, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of people looking at Ballr.live while watching the game out there.
Oh, what a beauty.
All right, fellas, let's get into the Ballr Blueprint. Our topic this week is how does Vegas impact your starting squad? I'm going to break it down to 3 different ways, and I'm going to go to you first, Tubes. If you are someone who owns Scotty Drinkwater, Fletcher Sharp, Braden Burns, you have to own all 3, although I did see someone in the Discord who did own all 3, but you might own one of them, 2 of them, whatever it is. Tubes, how do you react to those injuries? Do you change your game plan? If you had a Scotty Drinkwater who now you're thinking, oh no, I need to trade him out, or you had a Fletcher Sharp who is out till at least round 3, does that change your mindset building your team for the rest of round 1?
I think it can in certain situations. I liked someone put in the Discord, they're a Fletcher Sharp owner, and they were considering bringing in Cody Walker as an example compared to Pezzett. And I like that as a potential update because Cody Walker is definitely a playable option over the next 2 weeks. The first 3 rounds realistically. But he then had the round 4 bye. So you're able to take a punt in that way to think Fletcher Sharp might be back by round 4, and then you have a playable person in your 5'8", compared to potentially going Pezzett. That's like an example of maybe where you take it into consideration.
Yeah, a good example.
Yeah. So, but it's a very, I think it's a very small set area of what you're doing. I don't think you can be totally locked into anything just after last week. It was fun overreacting to things on the snap, but at the same time, there's another 6 games to be played this weekend, and even though it feels like, it's big boy season, all the things we talked about in preseason are happening. Like, let's see how the next 6 games play out, and make some reactions after that as well.
Well, speaking of potentially overreacting, Matt, I'm going to throw to you now. Planning ahead for these players you want. I saw you in our WhatsApp group as well as in the Ballers Only Discord throwing some scenarios about, okay, could I do this to make sure I can get Kalyn Ponga in, or Heilum Luki in, or Ryan Couchman in? Now that you've had a couple of days to digest, when you're setting up your team for round 1, are you still putting in plans to get those guys in place, or is it not a mindset for you?
And It is a little bit of a mindset, but I'm going to be on the balls of my feet, Jono. Like I've just got back on side and I'm ready to get off my line to defend again. I'm just on the balls of my toes, just waiting to react. So Ponga and Luki and Couchman, they're probably the big three that I don't own that have come out of Vegas smelling like roses. I think I'm going to want maybe all of them. I just don't know when. And I'm not going to plan specific moves with the players that I have. That was what my initial thought. I was like, okay, can I start with Sewer this week, Sewer and play him against the Eels in a good matchup at home, and then next week I can, bank 100. I can keep 100K in the bank to go there in one move. Feasibly, that actually does sound smart. I think I'm not going to lock myself into any moves. Like, okay, I'm going to trade Failongo to Ponga because, as you said, there's so much to play out still. What I am going to do is I'm going to set my squad up in such a way as I'm going to give myself options as to maybe an underperforming cheapie not going so well that I can then move over to Couchman, or a back rower who maybe isn't going so well, or I can move via Jules to bring Luki in, and then Ponga, obviously, I can move in flex, or, I'm starting with someone we'll talk a bit about later, Tommy Turbo. I can give him 2 games and then look to potentially go Turbo to Ponga in round 3. So there's a lot of different options I'm thinking about, but I'm not locking myself into any decision just yet. Just staying on the balls of my feet, mate.
Yeah, my thoughts are, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Tubes, is I don't like people starting to make plans of, all right, I'll bring in this guy so then I can flip him to Ponga or Luki or Couchman. I just think your team's going to have injuries. There's going to be things that are going to come up that you're not going to be enjoying. You're going to have certain guys you liked who you're going to have to trade out. I don't like making the plan for. I think go with the team that you planned on producing, the team that you had put research into producing, rather than overreacting. But what do you think, Tubler?
I think that's 100% right. Only because you don't know what's going to happen, and one thing I can guarantee is that something will go wrong. That's
we
pretty
saw it
much
already.
The only thing that's, and I mentioned the Fletcher Sharp one, the other one that's a little bit, I was planning on actually starting with enough Miles Martin, but now, and I didn't start with Rouchy, so that would have been nice to have Ryan Couchman, but now I'm considering potentially taking a flyer on someone I wouldn't have otherwise, like a Cooper Bye. He's a bit of an AE nightmare, but we just don't know. What if he comes out like Rouchy and plays 50 minutes this weekend and looks unbelievable? Then I'd rather have Cooper Bye in my squad than Miles Martin when one of them is potentially likely going to become Ryan Couchman anyway. So I might do that as an upside risk play that I wouldn't have otherwise done, but I'm not necessarily changing the main structure of my team.
It's not the bones of your team that's changing. It's just very
it's the edge cases.
Minor adjustment.
I got a couple of views, Jono, just on Drinkwater and Sharp specifically for owners. I think Drinkwater is a hard sell. I know they got a great matchup this week, so I would be planning a move from Drinkwater probably to Ponga, but you obviously can see what else happens. That rib cartilage injury just scares the life out of me. I just don't think you can expect $800,000 worth of value from Drinky. So, speaking to Dan and listening to the Magic Sponge podcast, I just think he's a clear sell. Fletcher Sharp, the Knights have announced today they're hoping he's back round 3. So you'd have to think that's around 3 or 4 return to play. I'd be holding him and then make a decision, like Tube said, whether you want Cody Walker or whether you're happy to run Pezzett for 2 weeks. It might only be for 1 week because round 1 you won't have to. Round 2 you would, then maybe round 3. Cody's obviously got the better games between now and then. So that's an option. I just think PCL Sharp is still better than the next 5'8". So whoever you're trading Sharp to, I don't think they're as good an option, even as a injury-impacted Sharp. And so you can save the trade there. Fletcher Sharp's going to be the one everyone wants at 5'8" this year when he comes good. I don't recommend buying Sharp when he gets back because he's might be impacted by injury. But yeah, that's I think you can hold him if you're an owner.
All right. Well, Tubes, one last question. This one's specifically for you, and you'll see why. What about those super coaches who got off to a really hot start in Vegas? They had a couple of pods like Dylan Lucas and Greg Marju. They had the VC and Kalyn Ponga. For those kind of coaches, Tubes, the ones who did get off to a flyer, is there that mindset of you, and I know you, Tubes, is there a bit of a, put your foot to the throat now and really go hard?
100%. I think fast starts are important in SuperCoach. I was tinkering, because the other option people sort of went, Dewey's an option if you've started well. because, you don't need the points as much. I'm the opposite. I was thinking about doing. Now I'm like, no, I want those points now. Bring Sam Walker into my team. Let's start fast. Let's do well. I think that's a really good play. And I did like your call, Matt, around Fletcher Sharp. Advising people to hold someone with a PPM of 2.5 is always a good strategy, I think, in SuperCoach.
Right.
All right, fellas, let's get into our positional analysis now. And here at Ballr, for those who are new, who have joined us over the off-season with our content, we don't like to do it team by team. We like to go through positionally. We just like to think it allows for some easier comparisons when we're going through. So let's start off with hooker, which for once, there's actually a little bit to talk about at hooker. It's often our quickest one, but there is a few interesting options there. It's going to start off with the cheese, Brandon Smith, who is still the second most owned hooker of the ones playing this weekend behind Harry Grant. He's at 30%. He's gone to at least round 3 with a calf strain. The Rabbitohs have a bye in round 4. I know our friend of the show, Brian, the NRL physio, has speculated that maybe with South having that bye, they might hold him till round 5. I have not had him leave my team, fellas. I think for me, I'm really happy with Harry as my number 1. Unless if he gets hurt, yeah, that would put me in a bit of an awkward spot, but I'll face that if it comes to it. I don't want to tear apart my squad to spend up at another hooker. And there's no other cheap guys, and we'll talk about a couple of them that are doing it for me. Where are you landing, Tubes, on Brandon Smith?
Yeah, same as you. I've got him straight in my team. I'm pretty boring. I've got Harry Grant and Brandon Smith, and I'm sticking by that. I see the risk you mentioned really is just if Harry gets injured, and even then, it's really you only have a decision to make if he's missing 1 to 2 weeks. Otherwise, it's straight to either a gun or you get the other options of some of these mid ranges, and you get a couple of weeks worth of information.
Matt, interested to hear your thoughts on the other couple of cheapies that I've seen people talking about. We've got Kalani going, who's in 8% of teams, and Benaya Ayello, who's in 11.8% of teams. What are you making of these guys? Are they traps, or do you think they're legitimate options?
Neither are options. Don't go near either of them. Benny Ayello might play 25 minutes, like worst case scenario.
And 40 potentially.
Best case scenario, I think between 25 and 55 would be the range there. I know Robertson likes him. You're gonna get. I think it's just a trap. Like he's going to be out of the team in come round 4, maybe when Robson's back. You're going to have to trade him and he might make no money. So I just why wouldn't you just go with the cheese for 13K less? Just a way better play. Going is going to be on the bench. I think he's named in jersey 17 for the Panthers. I think Going could become relevant at some point, but that point is not this week. So you're going to get we may as well just have a look at what the role Going's going to play. Panthers got a lot of injuries as well in that pack. Liam Martin's out. Liam Henry's out. They've named IPAP on the bench, so I don't know what's going on. But all I know is I'm not sure where Going fits into that team. So I would much rather, if I'm going to go cheap at hooker, which I probably will, it'll be Brandon Smith.
Yeah, I think he's Kalani trapping, and with Ayello, look, Connor Watson. I think this Reece Robson injury impacts Connor Watson and Blake Steep as well. Like, don't fall for the Blake Steep trap. He's starting.
Don't fall for any Roosters except for Angus Crichton.
Yeah, exactly. Just avoid them. You don't know what it's going to be like. Reece Robson will come back. It's going to
any Rooster forwards.
Yes, it's going to completely stuff up Blake Steep and Connor Watson. Who knows what that role is going to be? So I think it's just an avoid. Tubes, you quite like Jake Simpkin in our mid-range pod that we did a couple of weeks ago. How are you feeling about Jake Simpkin now? He's got Joey Walsh on the bench, no Zach Docker-Clay.
Yeah, I mean, he's come right back on the radar. If I had a build right now with him in my team, I'd be feeling pretty good, I think, to start him. I feel as though I'm pretty locked in on what, like I said before, this Harry Grant, Brandon Smith, and I don't need that 180K from Grant down to Simpkin anywhere else at the moment. But I really don't mind him as a play. Joey Walsh is a halfback. So
Wakeham's there too.
Number 18.
Wakeham's in the, yeah. So I suppose it's probably the sign that you wanted to see, though, that he's their number one hooker, that he's probably going to be getting 60 plus minutes, maybe even 65 plus minutes. And as we saw even in in Vegas, injuries come, and with this 19-man bench, they then use a back in that sort of rotation, and where they're likely going to fall to is their hookers playing 80 minutes, and so I think someone like a Jake Simpkin could easily become an 80-minute hooker in certain games and will make money.
You want to know what I read today about Manly? They're considering putting Luke Brooks to hooker during the game.
Yeah, Luke Brooks has been quoted. I was going to bring that up. Luke Brooks has been quoted saying he's happy and willing to play games at hooker. And
Manly are going to get the spoon, aren't they?
Not unless
I think that's something that's going to happen this year.
It's going to have
if
to
Turbo
be
goes down.
Yes, exactly.
If Turbo goes down,
which he will.
It could be them and the Eels fighting it out. If Turbo goes down, if Mitch Moses goes down, they're sort of one hand on the spoon each.
Oh, Tubes, don't rattle the Eels fans again.
Yeah, the Eels fans aren't happy with you already, Tubes.
Just one man's opinion.
Sorry to all the Manly fans. I'm looking at this team and Jesus.
I think the Manly fans I know and speak to.
No, they're pretty pessimistic, aren't they?
They're hoping the coach gets the sack, so I don't think they'll care too much if it gets off to a bad start. And a lot of them are liking these younger guys coming through. But no, I'm going to avoid Jake Simpkin. I would not be recommending him as an option. I hear your points, Tubes, around the potential 80 minutes when guys get injured. But on an extended bench where there's a halfback, a hooker, and an outside back, I just think they're going to want to get those, at least one of them on somewhere. And I think that could come at the extent of Jake Simpkin.
Who would you rather right now, Tubes, knowing what we saw for Reid on the weekend? Would you rather Reid or Jake Simpkin?
I don't want to go near Reid, so I'd rather go the upside of Jake Simpkin. But I mean, Reid played 80. So
I'll take Reid.
Yeah, take Reid.
Yeah.
But I mean, the answer's neither.
Yeah,
I've got to warm into this role, Matt. I haven't been like flying high, giving advice. Like part of me is sort of thinking, am I tipping people into the wrong ones just to keep it going? So bit of grain of salt with my chat tonight.
You need mental clarity, Tubes. I'm telling you, as someone who flew high last year, you need mental clarity. You've got to say what you actually think, and then you can rest easy at night with your head on the pillow, knowing you've helped all the ballers out there and knowing you help yourself. So just take that advice on board.
I was just kidding, but I like you've actually had that mental gymnastics conversation with yourself.
No, not at all. I'm just telling you from experience that that's what it was like for me. Knowing all the ballers out there are happy.
I'd leave Simpkin. I actually don't mind Hayward. We talked about him on the snap as well. I'd probably take Hayward over Simpkin as well at this point.
I like Hayward I think Hayward's got a bit about him as an NRL player for sure. Not sure about SuperCoach yet, but yeah.
Not sure about it hooker yet either, but definitely as an NRL player. I quite like Hayward. All right, let's get on to the premiums. Harry Grant, who does have Wishy on the bench. Not that that's a surprise. That's how it usually sat last year, and the minutes were still great. I just want to know, Matt, very quickly, do these people who own Reid and had Harry in their builds, now that you've seen Reid go really well, is there any scope for swerving Harry and using the cash elsewhere to upgrade?
I wouldn't say Reid went really well.
Well, I mean, he got the role you wanted him to see him get.
He got the 80 minutes.
He got, what, 51 points? It's not bad.
Yeah, 52. It's fine. If I had Reid, I would be getting Harry. I wouldn't be wanting to run Reid out every week still.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to own Reid still, put it that way. But look, it's not the worst. It's not the worst decision anyone's going to make all SuperCoach season. I'd be getting Harry. I don't think you can run Reid at hooker 1.
Tubes, I know you, when the cheese news first broke, built a couple of teams with Blake Brayley in your squad that you liked. How are you still feeling about Blake Brayley? Is 2 premium hookers still an option for you, or are you definitely locked into just one of them?
I've locked in only because the cheese is missing the 3 or 4 weeks maximum, whether he comes back after the bye or not. And I think that's a short enough time for me to go the cheapie. I did have a few builds, as you said, with the double premium hooker, and I really didn't mind it. I think that we've obviously seen the bump in the tackles for the new stats perform versus Fox Sports. We know Blake Brayley's going to play 80 minutes. You do have the option of moving Brayley down to your flex and still getting cheese later on, and then seeing how, I guess we know both Brayley and Grant are going to end up being undervalued. So you're basically getting 2 very good playable options for 1.2 million. that are going to probably grow to 1.4 million between the two of them before you sell one of them off. So it's an option. I'm leaning against it now, but yeah, I couldn't talk someone out of it either.
All right, let's get down to our next position, front row forward. And I've got Curtis Moran top of the run sheet.
Oof.
I just want to say, Matt, I know you didn't mind him. You said that he was an okay option. He's 260K. He's 8% owned. They do have in their 14 to 17, a 4-forward bench who are all guys who play in the middle. Are you still giving any thought to Curtis Moran, or is he gone for you now?
No, he's gone for me. I was looking at the minutes today for the Ballr projections, and like you said, they've just got like such a strong, big middle bench. I think it's going to cost Arama Howe a few minutes as well, who I'm sure we'll get to. But we know Tino's going to be a 60-minute guy. And we know Chris Randall's probably going to be a 60-minute guy too. So it just doesn't leave a lot of minutes there on that bench. Cleese Haas is exclusively a middle now. Curtis Moran and Cooper Byer will all play middle. And then Tukey Simpkins probably middle. Who knows what they're going to do with his 19-man thing. But anyway, no, Curtis Moran.
Perfect. Well, that leaves us with the other three. And fellas, I gave you no prep for this, but I'm going to ask you guys to rank these three front row forwards who are at a similar price. So I'm just going to lay out the information of what's come through on team lists, and then you guys can rank them for me. So the three are Jesse Colquhoun, who's the highest owned, 46%. He has been named to start at lock for the Sharkies, but they do have a 4-forward bench, which is basically as expected. Thomas Flegler, who we did get a bit of unexpected news. He's in 28% of teams. He was named to start. There was a lot of chatter of easing him back from the bench, but he is starting for the team. They only have 3 forwards on the bench. They do have, what's his name, the guy who used to play for the Raiders and Penrith, Brad Schneider is off the bench, I believe. So 3-forward bench.
Yep.
And then finally, Taniela Paseka, who also has a 3-forward bench. We've mentioned that Joey Welsh is on that bench for them. And then they have another half and an outside back on the extended. So only 3 forwards to come on. It can't possibly bump to 4. With all that in mind, fellas, when you're looking at those three, I'm going to start with you first, Tubes. What is your ranking of Colquhoun, Flegler, and Paseka in terms of who you would most likely start it within your team?
So I'm going to start by letting you know that it changed at 4:02 this afternoon. And I've now got Thomas Flegler as my number one option out of these. He has not been any preseason builds for me. I would have had him number 3. I really like the fact that he's been named to start, and I really like this bench for him. So you mentioned Schneider's on the bench. Trey Fuller's sitting in number 17. And then they've got Oren Keeley and Felice Kafusi. And then the 1890 is Sebastian Sewer, who I think is a young prop who you wouldn't think play huge minutes, and Brent Wolf. And then I know that Max Plath will come back, and I know that Irish Kurt will also come back. But I still think that from a prop perspective, Thomas Flegler, the fact that they've named him to start, I expect him to play pretty decent minutes. And I think they're giving him a big vote of confidence. And we know that he can be an absolute SuperCoach stud if he gets the minutes. So I'm seeing him as the big upside player as a rank 1. And then I have Jesse 2 and Paseka 3 off the back of that.
Perfect. Matt, what's your ranking of the 3?
So just for the Finns, it's just worth noting who is out and who's back soon. So Daniel Saifudi was touch and go, not named. Francis Molo suspended for the first 2 or 3 games. And Max Plath will also be back around that time period as well. Dolphins, like preseason, we were all going, how many middles have Dolphins got? So many mouths to feed. Flegler's great for the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to have him on number 1, though, because I do think he'll be straight back to the bench. I wouldn't be shocked if he starts on the bench this week and Kafusi starts at prop. Christian Wolf's pulled a few of those moves last season. So I'm going to leave him at 3 just because I just think that his long-term future there is just uncertain. And I think if he drops back down to that sort of 40-minute role, then he's going to get a little bit stuck in the 400s there. And not the biggest problem, but not the worst. Does anyone know when Cam McInnes is back? Did I hear round 8 roughly on NRL Physio's pod this week?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's got to put Colquhoun to number 1 for me. I've been going with Paseka. Paseka's got the most known determined role there, and he has a bit of upside because he's going to be the number 1 guy. Manly are playing got 2 halfbacks on the bench for some reason. They don't have any forward depth, so Paseka might have to play big minutes just because of that. But I think I've got to go Colquhoun if he gets 7 or 8 rounds starting at lock. I think he'll play roughly 50 to 55 minutes in that role. Sharks do have a lot of big middles on the bench, but I think they'll rotate them through pretty quick. Hamlin, might not get on. So, yeah, I think I'll go Colquhoun 1, Paseka 2, Flegler 3.
We've all got a different list, and I'm sticking with Paseka as number 1. Not because I think he's the best player of the 3, but just because I think he's got the most guaranteed SuperCoach role. And he has been good. He averaged 55 in 2023, Paseka, so he does have runs on the board when he gets those minutes. I got Colquhoun at 2. Matt, I agree with all the reasons you said. And for me, yeah, Flegler, just with the guys coming back, I've got him at 3. He also was never that SuperCoach relevant, even when...
Yeah, he was all right.
I mean, he never averaged more than 46 in a season. 2023 averaged 46, 2022 45, 2021 43. So not bad. And also we've got to keep in mind that there are stat changes coming in now, which is going to boost that a little bit. And his first year at the Finns, he was on track for a bigger role and more SuperCoach points than that. So unfortunately, he got hurt. But yeah, just for the role, I think I've got him at number 3.
He was coming off the bench for the Broncos, wasn't he?
At times, not all of those years. No. But yeah, no, I don't think he's bad, Jules. I also think he's probably going to come off the bench for the Finns once they're back.
I think deep dived into the stats, you might have looked at.
I think going for any of those guys, it's about the structure of how you want your team. I don't have any of them in my team at the moment.
Yeah, okay, I got Paseka.
I think I'm going to start with one of them, and I also think it's not the biggest decision because Rauchi is cementing himself as my front row forward 3 pretty soon. So it feels like you're picking the one that you want to be safe and make obviously a bit of money, but obviously we know there's some backup options out there in front row forward land, which we're about to talk about as well.
Yeah, I didn't look if he was off the bench or starting, to be honest, but I did look at the minutes, and it was pretty much a point per minute. So basically, if he was getting 43, he played 43 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, these other front rows I want to talk about, some really interesting ones. First of all, in the kind of upper mid-range level is Jermaine Hopgood at 517k. He's been in and out of my builds, actually, a lot. I've had him at the flex. I've had him at front row forward. But I really like that bench, Tubes. You sent through a kind of expected team that did pan out for the Eels. I love that bench. It's really friendly for him to get big minutes. They got a hooker. They got 2 middle forwards who aren't noted for huge minutes. And then Dylan Walker, who can go huge minutes when he needs to. But I think it's a fantastic bench for Jermaine Hopgood. What do you reckon, Matty?
Yep. He's in my team as of yesterday. I reacted to that Tubes commentary as well of the good bench. I went digging into his stats, Hopgood, and I don't think he could have gone any worse last year. He was definitely hampered by injury through that first 2/3 of the season. His shift to front row definitely helped. So Riles has seen that. He's elite from the 2 seasons prior to that. He, averaging I think he averaged 80 one year or close enough. So, yeah, he's going to be a beneficiary of these stat changes. And as long as the minutes are there, then like 515 just doesn't feel very risky. I struggle to see how he goes too badly wrong.
Yeah. Tubes, he's your man.
Yeah, I think just the expansion on what you mentioned about the bench, like similar to what I mentioned for Flegler, like if you look at that Eels bench, obviously they got Dylan Walker, which will come on him to play lock, likely for DeBellin, so he could push up. Sam Tuivati, he's a 28-minute averaging front row forward prop off the bench. I think he's still quite young. So, but I can't imagine him suddenly busting out to be a 50-minute or 50-minute prop. And then they've got Kelma Tuolangi and Matt Dory. So predominantly edges. Obviously, Dory could go in the middle, and we know Jack Williams can go in the middle. But the other starting prop being Junior Paulo, who I think is already at his peak from a minutes perspective. Like he's not the man that can go 80 minutes in a pinch. So I just can't see how Hopgood doesn't play a minimum of 60 minutes in this rotation. And at 517k, that feels just like a lock and load.
I think 55 is enough. I think if he gets 55, he's a good buyer. 60 would be great. I think 60, then he can average 65 plus, which would be sensational at that price.
I think, incredibly safe option at the price. Let's get to a couple of the higher end guys. Keon Kalamatangi, who I have not been on over the off-season just because I think I've always said he's fairly priced, I think, for what I expected his role to be. But that has shifted a little bit. We now have Jai Arrow, who is going to be through the middle rotation. He's out with a shoulder injury. You got Brandon Smith, who was going to play middle minutes, is now out till at least round 3. They've replaced Brandon Smith with Bronson Garlick, who I think is less likely to get minutes through the middle. Is his role looking better now? I mean, Tallis Duncan has been moved to the bench. I think that might be a tactic because Duncan can play through the middle as well. But I think his role's looking a lot better now than it did 2 weeks ago. Tubes, has he come into your team at all, Keon?
Nah, he hasn't. And I do think it looks better now. But we know Cheese will be back. Jai might be back at some point. Cam Murray, where it's up in the air how many minutes he's going to play. I think he's an elite front row forward option and something you could definitely look at playing. For those that are likely all starting Payne Haas, Trey Mooney kicked off pretty well. I just think that we just talked about Hopgood as a bit more cut price option than Keon, but could easily start extremely strong Keon Koloamatangi for the first few weeks. He definitely has a good outlook for the first 3 weeks, that's for sure.
All right, I want to get on to Tino Fa'asuamalawi, who is going to get dual. So I'm putting him in this front row forward conversation. Tom Sangster confirmed on Twitter today a couple of guys who are going to get that dual position. So as of probably tomorrow, he's going to be in the front row forward available. I just want to hear, Matt, your thoughts on Tino. So he's priced at his average. We're not getting him at an injury discount. What is it that people like, I guess, is what I want to unpack, because he's quite popular. I don't think he's a bad option by any means, but is it the stat changes? Is it that he's now second year back from an ACL injury? What is it that's pushing Tino into so many people's teams?
So last season, he was, like you said, came back from that ACL. In those games last season, so he had one game where he only had 24 minutes. So I'm just going to take that out, that game. Away from that game, under the new scoring system, he averaged 74.5. So there's 7-8 points of value there. Or even 7 or 8 points of value there, straight off the bat. He's a talisman, not to be confused with Gordon Tallis or Tallis Duncan. But he's their captain. He's their main guy. I think we could see improved output. He scored 3 tries last year, which is probably a little bit overs, but he can score tries, so it's not egregious that he could do that again. It's not an egregious stat. Use that out of context, but that's okay. I think Tino is a good buy. I've got him in my team currently. He's going to be dual as well. I like him better than Keon just because I think there's more upside in both his minutes and his role. Little watch on the new coach. Like, we know that Des used to like to push him a bit, and as I mean most coaches have. I would suggest his minutes are good. We said the bench isn't like pretty stacked with middles, so that's causes a little bit of hesitation. But yeah, I think there's enough value in that price relative to a guy like Keon, who I don't want to put anyone off at all, but I think Tino's better.
Yeah, no, I think it's good analysis. All right, last one in the front row forward is just Payne Haas. Tubes, just a simple yes, no. Is Payne Haas absolutely locked into your team?
Yeah, locked in. Should average 85, 90 plus. New stats work well for him. And we saw in the World Club Challenge that he will play 80 minutes when and if needed. And Michael Maguire's not afraid to do so. So I think you basically just lock him in.
And if he was afraid to do so, he's certainly not now that Payne's off to the Rabbitohs. He's never afraid to do that, Madge, is he? But yeah, even less so now. He's got a reason. Right, let's get to second row forward. And I think one of the biggest breaking pieces of news for SuperCoach nerds like us out there was the news that Josh Paxton has been named in jersey number 22. He was up over 20%, 25% owned, I think, coming into Teamless Tuesday today. He's already dropped down to 18% and continuing to fall. He's been replaced by Arama Howe, not Rodney Howe, Arama Howe, who is starting in the back row. Fellas, I watched that trial from start to finish, that last one they had, and it was for my Sunday Snap research. And geez, I was impressed by Arama Howe. I thought he was incredible. So Paxton came off with a HIA. He had just gone kind of plodding about, making tackles, being fine. But this guy came on and was explosive. He scored off a beautiful line from a short ball for Jaden Campbell. Every hit up had venom. I really like the look of his game, and I think he's going to be quite a SuperCoach friendly option. The big question is, Matt, is Arama Howe a trap?
No. Like, I think you've got enough scope there now with Rouchy, I'm going to do Howe instead of enough. So I have traded Patston out, obviously, but I'm getting Arama Howe. I like the fact that he looked great in the trials. Patston didn't look so great. This now feels like his spot to lose or to win, even maybe more so. So let's see how he goes. Coach wants to get a good look at him. Ownership, 9/10 of the law. He might not work out, but I think, there's enough going on with options at 2RF that, you can, if you need to move him on or let him sit there, then so be it. He's straight in for me.
Even you said you think you get about 60 minutes. That you think that's enough at that price of 235K?
For Howe?
Yeah.
60 minutes?
Didn't you say at the top you think he's in for 60 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's enough.
Yeah.
I'd only start balking down at 40 minutes.
Tubes, any concern? I've seen people saying that, Patston's on HIA protocols. He hasn't been able to train. I mean, for me, that's never stopped coaches from naming a guy before, so I don't know why that will be an impact. But I guess people are looking, because it's a surprise and it's new information, people are trying to explain why. Do you have any concerns, Tubes, or is Howe making his way into your team?
I mean, the Patson, it's not like Patson's was a starting forward for them last year. It was all just pre-season chat that he was going to be their starting back rower. So, and it's a new coach. It's 10A. As you said, trial form has been good. Our man Jason, part of our draft league, he's a Titans fan. He's giving him a good push. I think it's enough for me to start him. And as Matt said, there's the bailout options at the moment, but I think, you love these upside SuperCoach friendly players that get named to start. It's hard not to pick them at this bottom dollar price.
Tubes, I think that's such a good point. This isn't like Angus Crichton waiting in the wings with HIA concerned. Just Joshua Patston, a stalwart for the Queensland Cup. So I agree with what both of you have said. I think if Howe comes in and plays well, it becomes his spot to lose. This is not bench warming for Joshua Patston. I think it's his spot to lose now, and let's hope that trial form continues. I think it's worth a crack for sure. All right, Cooper Bye is one who is 42% owned, the most owned back rower in SuperCoach. He's not in my team. I'm not one of them. I've taken him out. I'm just a little bit worried about how his role looks. 4 middle forwards on the bench. Matt, I know in our pod last week, we kind of spoke about cheapies and Cooper Bye obviously came up. You were confident he's still going to push around that 400K mark by origin time. I think there's a good chance it does, but I think there's enough around. I'd rather take a flyer on Howe as a starter than Cooper Bye in a 4 middle bench. Tubes, what's your take on Cooper Bye? You said you're thinking about starting with him at the top of the show.
Yeah, I think why not have both? That's sort of he is a cheapie. The thing is, as I mentioned early, Ryan Couchman's coming for someone, and I know that. So I'm thinking of starting both, and see which one looks good. And if they both look good, well, then that's a good problem to have. I think the only thing with Cooper Bye is what you're worried about, what his minutes are going to look like. But he's got the pedigree. We've seen him play for last year, at the back end of last year, and also for PNG, and he's looked elite. So I want him. I think he's worth taking a flyer on at the price.
Matt, has your stance on Bye changed?
Oh, my head's spinning trying to come up with old El Paso puns after Tubes' why not have both. Well, the best I can come up with is old El Patston, but
that's not bad
because he's out and Howe and Bye are in. Yeah, I'm a big one. I'd have both, man. I think we passed comment, we passed judgment on my performance on the pod last week, Jono, but I actually think I nailed that section. Cooper Bye, I want to have my cash on the field. Cooper Bye off the field. No cash, no here. 235K, I'm very happy. We know he's a jet. He's a young gun. He's touted for future rep honours. Happy for him to sit on the bench and slow burn up to 400K. And who knows, maybe he'll quick burn. We'll see. He's lock and load. I haven't considered taking him out of my team once.
Because the other point, I think, as well, you mentioned Tino and that it is a stacked middle, but it's a stacked middle in terms of there's middle players. It's not a stacked middle in terms of
Quality
NRL, middle forwards. Like there's Cooper White could easily take that lock forward role by the horns if he's as good as we think he could be.
Cleesa Haas.
Agreed. Yeah, you guys are convincing me. I do have Rouchy already in my team. Have I mentioned that? I've got Rouchy already, fellas, after his big score on the weekend. And I'm going to get Howe. Is all three too much? Like, at the moment, I've got enough. So I guess, do I just get Howe as my prop and bring in Cooper Bye instead of Miles Martin? Should I do that?
If you want money makers are the best, so much better at bottom dollar. That you're just such a better opportunity to do that. Yeah, I think so. I think you can do that. And you've always got the option to go to Miles Martin. I think there's three quality picks. There's a little bit of a cash difference there for you, Jono. Is probably the only thing.
No, I can afford it now. But so I'll take a look because of my Paxton down to Howe downgrade. That's opened up a little bit of cash if I want to do that going up. So we'll see. Sure. I'll think about it. Tubes?
Well, we can talk about your team a bit more after the pod, John. I promise. We'll give it a bit of airtime to tip you into how to set yourself up for the year too.
Appreciate it. Well, let's get on to the Storm boys. Adavalu, Lasardi and Joe Chan both named to start. Alec McDonald at lock and Sean Blore absolutely nowhere to be seen. Their bench is pretty friendly, I'd say, for the middles. We've got Wishy, we got Davey Moali and Tui Kamakamitha, who are obviously both middles only. Cooper Clark got a lot of time in the trials on an edge and looked really impressive, but he's the only one who could take minutes off those guys. I guess for me, Matty, it's just when's Blore coming back? If he does Lasardi drop out? I don't want Joe Chan unless he's playing 80 minutes. And for me, there's just enough questions around both of them that I'm avoiding both. Where are you sitting with it?
Yeah, I agree. I think Joe Chan is not good enough. SuperCoach asset. I think we've seen enough of him. I expect him to average 40 to 45. He could, if he gets some tries or something, he could average more, but I'm not going to bank on that. Or I'd rather just go one of those cheaper guys. I'm never going to want to play him, so he's a clear no for me. I can see he's probably won that edge, but for how long? He's never held down a starting spot in the NRL before, so yeah, I think there's a lot of just doubts over him and red flags that I don't want to go near. Lasardi is more interesting. We've seen he's a good player. He's emerging. He's on the up. The problem with Lasardi is he's on the left edge. Now, Frank Panisi, famed Melbourne Storm football manager, was on SEN down here with Jared Waitley last week. Shout out to all our Melbourne listeners. And he said that Ballr is sort of looking at sort of round 2, round 3 comeback. It is a bit fishy because he hasn't been spotted anywhere all preseason in any games, or he's got this like integrity unit thing hanging over his head. So there are a few worlds where Lasardi really works out. He gets 80-minute role on the left edge. I'm just going to wait and see. And if that looks like that's really solidified, we'll have more info by round 3, then I'll pick him up. But I think there are too many gun options and there's enough cheapy options for me to look elsewhere at the moment.
All right, I'm going to just quickly rule out another cheapy option. It's Noah Martin for the Raiders, who was named to start in the second row today, 250K. Just be mindful, Matty Nicholson is lurking. So
can I just say, Noah Martin, I think Ricky loves. You don't want to get Ricky. You can't even trust him with Joe Tappaney, so how can you trust him with Noah Martin? I do think Nicholson is lurking and is likely to come in, but I think they really, really like this guy, Martin, and it wouldn't shock me for him to be a good cheapie, but I agree with you, don't get him now and you pick him up at round 3.
Hoskins on the bench too.
Hoskins middle though. Hoskins middle.
Yeah, but I just mean that
for now.
Then it's Ricky. Hoskins middle. What? Who told you that, Ricky? There's Nicholson's playing reserve grade. We need hot off the Clippers. It's a Noah to Martin.
Hot off the Clippers is the only one who knows anything. He knows more than Ricky.
Who knows whose hair he's cutting? But he got it right. He got it. That Owen Paddy mail came good. Hot off the Clippers, the barber. He called it a few weeks ago that Paddy was going to be in New South Wales Cup and Brayley and Starling were going to be in the rotation. Nailed it. Fellas, I'll do some digging. I'm getting a haircut next Thursday. So
how good.
I'll come up with some hot off the Clippers by Sunday snap.
I like that you've got that scheduled 9 days in advance. Very good.
Look, I'm a once every 4 weeks, man. There's a schedule.
Yeah,
you know me, Matty. There's always a schedule in place. All right, Tubes.
There's something about turkey and things that you got to do. There's some schedule you got to keep after that, I think.
Beard and eyebrow trim too.
All right, cheers. Jacob Laban. I've got no comment on Turkey. Jacob Laban, name to start. Tubes, how confident are you of Jacob Laban's role at 300k? Leka Halasima lurking on the bench. Could you take a flyer? He's a good player.
Not for me. I think it would have been between him and Lasardi if we didn't get a couple of other cheapies like we went through before with Howe, etc. But at 299k, so nearly at 300k basically, I think there's just too much of a risk given how good we know Leka Halasima is. And that could easily see him back to the bench, from as early as round 2. I just can't take a flyer on him. I'll pick him up if I'm wrong later on, but I'm happy to leave him off because of that risk.
What I will say about Laban is I think he's the best player of these cheap options at the moment. Like, he looks like he could break out. And if that happens, then he may, there are a few good scenarios here where if you take a flyer on him and he works out well, he gets 80 minutes, you play him. I think there are a few good outcomes here for Jacob Laban. I don't think he's the worst pick to start. I'm not going to do it, but I wouldn't be talking people out of starting with Laban. He's also easy. I generally hate 300k and 3 to 350k, but I think in his case it's not the worst. There are going to be a lot of good options to go down to from Laban if he doesn't work out in rounds 1 to 2.
And just to clarify, because I think I said before I'm thinking about Cooper Buy because I've just got the funds to do it. If I did have the extra 65k, I would be taking Laban over Cooper Buy rather than leaving the money on the bench. That's for sure. But I just don't have the cash, so it all just depends. But I'm not making any changes to get Laban in instead.
Yeah, fair call. All right, let's get down to Cam Murray, who I think we might be sleeping on, fellas. We mentioned all that roll stuff and the Rabbitohs middles with Keon. I wonder if we could say the same thing about Cam Murray. I think he's going to be a big beneficiary of this third man in stats change. We don't have any data on him from last year because he was out for the whole season except for 1 20-minute stint at the back end of the year. Matt, what do you think of Cam Murray? Are we potentially sleeping on him at 548k?
To me, Jono, it just all comes down to his minutes. And looking at that team, there's been a little bit of premiership talk at the Bunnies, but Jono, looking at numbers 14 to 21, 22 there, oh, mate, come on. Where's the depth? That's horrific, aside from Tallis Duncan, if that's who's coming in off the bench. So, if you're positive on Murray's minutes, I think you want 65. I wouldn't want any less. Then, yeah, I think he'll be a fine pick. Having listened to Physio's pod in the off-season, he's a bit worried about he's being able to have that explosiveness, which we know he's such a dynamic ball runner at his best. Coming back from the Achilles, he's going to be a bit hampered. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make 50 tackles, though, when he plays 65-plus minutes. So, I think he'll score well. I just want to get a look at the role and the minutes and how that shakes out. Him or Keon could be the real big winners there. I just don't know who that's going to be.
I'm offended, by the way, as the president of the Hub Club, the Lockie Hubner fan club, that you besmirched him as part of that 14 to 17. Lockie Hubner's a good NRL player, but I'm not
14 to 22.
Yeah, sorry, but yeah. Hurt my feelings a little bit. All right.
Sorry, mate.
Tubes, I'm going to throw to you for 3 guys who I have not left a draft of my squad since the stat changes came in. David Fifita, Isaiah Yeo, and Angus Crichton. Could you put a case against any of those guys, or are you as firm on them as me?
I think Fifita and Yeo are must-haves. Fifita, if you haven't seen the pic on him on socials going around, he's just back to his Adonis self and such a low price. Yeo, we've talked about it in all the preseasons, but just given the role he had last year with the Panthers, the stats perform changes help him the most out of any forward. He's pretty much as good a lock as you can have in that back row. I've got Angus Crichton in my squad, so I'll say that. He's the one I could make a case against. We've obviously seen and talked about tonight, there's a lot of options available in that second row forward, both in cheap and also in gun territory. I also started Dylan Lucas. So if you've sort of stacked it out with the likes of Tino, Hopgood, Yeo, for feeder, and then you want to fit in a few cheapies, and you're not looking at having one in the flex. Crichton, I could potentially look at leaving out just because I don't think he's favoured as much with the stats.
Yeah.
And whilst I think he's going to be a gun, he doesn't necessarily bounce back from a bit of a down year last year from that side of things. So that'd be the only case I could make against those threes.
Jono, on the Ballr projections for 2RF, looking ahead at 5 round averages, there are 5 guys who are all projected 74 points, 5 round average. Aaron Clark, Angus Crichton, Hudson Young, Isaiah Yeo, and Tino Fasuamaleaui. Based off those Ballr projections, I'm much higher on Crichton now, which it kind of makes a lot of sense. I think as long as he gets that 80 minutes, which he should, he does have a lot more attacking output in him than he showed last year. He's going to get those big base numbers. He's locked in for me, as is Yo, like for every reason everyone else has said. And I've got Tino as well, so I'm feeling very happy. They're the top echelon. Aaron Clark is interesting if he gets some minutes, but he's just that bit higher priced, and I prefer Tino in that price bracket.
All right, let's jump down to the halfbacks, and Ethan Sanders is the highest owned of this week's players at 31%. Look, I think if your team build was to have a cheapy halfback, I'm not going to try and talk out Ethan Sanders, goal kicking confirmed, and I think it's a good one. You're feeling a little bit better having him after the Atkinson game.
Jono, he's my most asked about player this week, Ethan Sanders. Everyone's going, Ethan Sanders. I just saw he's 65 on the Ballr projections. He's down to 61 now, as an aside. But yeah, the Ballr projections really like him, goal kicking in a good team. And yeah, there's obviously something in the data that's picked it up. He's in my side currently. I still am flirting with a double big halfback build with Hines and Dewey, but I think I'll probably end up with Sanders. And yeah, looking forward to seeing him play.
And I think you did say, Matt, as well, his New South Wales Cup stats, he averaged like 50, and that was
no
without the goal kicking.
Yeah.
So he's clearly got a bit of a SuperCoach friendly game, which he hasn't shown in his glimpses of first grade, to be honest. He's come across as more of a ruck manager. Doesn't mean it's not in him.
No, and well, he's going to have to play that sort of, Ethan Strange isn't that organising half. He's the running half. I would expect Strange to take on a little bit more of that this year as the senior halves partner. But yeah, I mean, Sanders feeding Huddy Young should be good fun. And as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing him play NRL. TubesPODs took a big hit today. Jaden Campbell, the prize recruit, a pod at the time at only 3% ownership, gone for 2 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. Tubes, I'm interested for you and the others who owned him. What do? Do you go slightly up to Nico Hines? Do you go slightly down to Sammy Walker? Do you really save some cash and drop all the way down to Adam Dewey? What's your plan, Tubes?
So I was actually running him in the flex. So I was going to run JC and Sam Walker to start the year to see which one got off to a flyer. So that probably answers your question for those that were starting him at halfback. I think Sammy Walker is the obvious pick to switch to as a slight downgrade. I know that Teddy's come out and said, we're going to play a bit of halves and we're going to switch things around and I'll play a bit more ball. No, you won't, Teddy. Like, this is Sam Walker's team, mate. He's running the show. We saw it in the trials. Teddy, back in your box. You're just a runner. Back up the play. Let Sam Walker do his magic, and we're going to see it on the weekend. And I really like Sam Walker with that Angus Crichton stack too.
I don't know how to comment off that, Matt. I didn't expect a Teddy diatribe coming in there.
Just to drive by to potentially the greatest SuperCoach player of all time.
Back in your box,
it was just
Teddy.
such a weird thing, Teddy. Like, what's he like?
He's just taking pressure. He's just taking pressure off him. That's all.
We're all ball players.
If anything, that's a good sign for him, Tubes.
I think so as well. I just wanted to slander Teddy because I don't like the Roosters, but I actually take it as a good sign for him that they are trying to take the pressure off. But I really do think it will be his team, and I like him to start the season.
Fellas, Nathan Cleary, he's in for me. I understand that with the stats changing, the data says that that's not a good pickup. I am going against the data in this one, and I'm going to say that I think he's going to still maintain his value, and I think he's going to have a very hot start. And look, if he doesn't, I've got a bit of cash there to spend to get down to other people. But I'm quite bullish on Nathan Cleary, and he's definitely going to be in my team. Matty, Sharkies fan, Nico Hines, are you buying into this Trindle's organising and Hines is running thing? And if that is the case, Hines is a pretty good option.
Yeah, I think Hines is very fairly priced. He's so maligned. The main thing that interests me about Nico is this draw. Now they got JC-less Titans round 1 at Shark Park. Very likely that they'll be winning that fixture, I would hope. And then they have the Dolphins at home in round 3. Penrith at Carrington Park in between. Might probably see a much tougher game. But yeah, I think the Hines draws there. I really like, this is like foot on the throat territory tubes that you were talking about earlier for the fast start. I think he's an excellent captaincy option round 1 as well, which is going to come into my calculations a little bit. I'm Jono, I've got to be honest, I'm struggling so badly at halfback with what to do. I think Cleary's viable. I think Hines is viable. Dewey's very viable. Sam Walker, I just don't feel confident in, even though the goal kicking is such a big floor raiser for him. I think I can see myself owning him at some point, but probably not to begin with.
It is very tricky. I think it's the hardest position of the year with so many good viable options and a couple of good cheaper options too. Obviously Sanders and Atkinson, but then there's also Mitchie Moses and Adam Dewey, who I think they're very clearly both underpriced. So Mitchie Moses, who is priced without the goal kicking, historically for Mitch Moses, that brings him about 12 points a game in average, the goal kicking. So that boosts him up from his 543K. And then Adam Dewey, who is priced after spending, 2/3 of the year to 3/4 of the year playing centre, where he didn't score well. Once he came into that middle role, whether it was lock, halfback or 5'8" at the back end of last year, absolutely fantastic numbers. The only problem is, Tubes, he's on the bye. Is he worth the wait at all? Or do you like that you just get an extra week to look at things and wait till round 4 to make a call?
I'm really torn on this because I love Dewey. I started with some Titans players last year on the bye, and it didn't work out too well for me. So I'm just leaving it this year with stacking my team as much as possible in week 1, and I'll pick up Dewey if he looks as good as I think he's going to look, and something goes wrong. Like Dewey could be a flex option as well come round 3 or round 4. Like,
yeah, true.
I just, as I said before, foot on the throat, fast start, go as well as you can, and pick up a player like Dewey if you need to when injuries will likely hit over the next few weeks.
Is Dewey definitely goal kicking?
Yeah. He kicked in the trials,
Okay.
so I'm assuming that was a positive sign.
Yeah.
Were you thinking Appy Coruscant might, Matt?
Yeah, Appy's a pretty underrated goal kicker. He's got a great record.
Dewey goal kicked, though, really well last year, and he goal kicked while Appy was in the team. So
yeah,
I don't see why that
No,
would...
I think he will. I was just trying to see if we had any concrete information. That's all. If I'm starting
Just
with him.
musing.
Yeah.
Musing. Matt's musings. All right, let's get to 5'8" now, and there's less to talk about in 5'8". Jonah Pezzett, obviously, we kind of touched upon him at the top of the show when we spoke about the Sharp injury and what you do. I still think, Pezzett, he's a good option at the price. He's not in my team, but he's clearly good for a lot of people because he's in 73% of teams. I like spending up a little bit more on Cody, but I'm happy to be proven wrong and downgrade to Pezzett if it turns out he has a really SuperCoach-friendly game. Tubes, Cody Walker, Cam Munster, anyone you really want to talk about at the 5'8" position?
Not really. I think Matt's call earlier that Fletcher's going to be such a number one gun 5'8". I'm paying bottom dollar for Pezzett and hope he's going to be a cow, and then potentially build my way to Fletcher Sharp over the next 3 to 4 weeks. I already had Jackson Purdue. I can see the reasons, and we talked about it previously for Cody Walker and why you're starting him as a fast start, but it's just such a boring position 5'8" for this year to start the season.
Matt, you were putting a bit of thought into Cam Munster.
Yeah, I just, if I thought he was better priced, I would really put some more thought into it. I've got Purdue, so I'm locked in there. So I'm Purdue and Pezzett. Purdue. So, yeah, I think Munster is fairly priced. So, I wouldn't if you like Munster, I would go him. But, I'm not jumping out of trees to get him.
I just think without his two kind of kicking options, Eli Katoa and Xavier Coates, he got so many try assists with kicks to those guys last year. But who knows? It could come through the hand, which is even better.
I think Jono as well, principally to start your team this year, I think you want a guys who you're very comfortable in to be value under the new scoring system, or you want guys who can get who've got that high ceiling to really outperform their starting price. And I just don't think Munster quite falls into either of those categories this year. The only massive positive I can see is Pappenhausen gone. And who else is missing for them? Someone else. Anyway, I just he has to be a bit more ball dominant. Hughes is obviously back. So yeah, look, I think he's an okay pick.
All right, let's get down to centre wing. And pretty good news for some centre wing cheapies that are really popular today. Siali Fayamani was named to start. Doesn't seem like there's too many guys sniffing around who might take his spot. Probably Jalen de Groot's the biggest threat. Moses Leo, named to start in the centres for Melbourne. For those following Zach Lomax gate, the news seems pretty good for Leo's security. I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer and that I studied through the documents clearly, but from what's being reported, it does sound like the news is pretty good for Moses Leo with Zach Lomax maybe not as imminent to Melbourne as we thought. And then obviously the other really popular one who's in 66% of teams after his trial form is Hayamasi Makasini, the Mack truck. He's on the bye this week. I'm interested, Matt. We obviously already had a couple of popular cheapies playing the weekend, Sedu 2 and Tom Chester. Do you think there's now a strong case to go 5 cheapie centre wings?
Yes.
Talk us through it.
I've currently got 5 cheap centre wings, so I've booted, like all good super coaches, I've traded Herbie Farnworth to Moses Leo today. So, yeah. And
that's a big team blow up. You've just freed up $600K.
Yeah, so that's the main source of all my headaches. Look, Melbourne Storm centre, who has 235K. It's hard to see him not making money with that job security. There's no one else there, is there? Like there's this bloke on the bench. What's his name? He played 1 or 2 games last year. The winger. His name is, I'll just get that up. Tuamulatu Brown. Away from that, there's just not a lot doing at centre wing for the Storm. So I think he's got that spot pretty well locked up. Dan mentioned on off air after the pod last week that in his 2 80-minute games last year, Leo based, in his first one, he based 6. And then in the second one, he's based 34. So which one will we see? Will the real Moses Leo please stand up? I don't know what we're going to get, but at 235K, geez, it's hard to pass up. I've already played Setu 2 and Tommy Chester this week. So they both got good scores in my 17. I get Makasini next week, who'll be more playable. And yeah, so one idea, Jono, that I am flirting with 5, I just feel like they're just good, rock-solid group of cheapies this year at centre wing. They're not all going to work out. One will be terrible. I don't know which one yet. But to overcome that, I'm actually going to stick in, I think, a centre wing, which might end up still being Herbie or Brian To'o down at the flex. So then if I need to get rid of one, I can move To'o or Herbie up to centre wing and then bring trade that out, move my second row or front row around and do it that way. So that's where my head's at the moment, potentially a centre wing at flex. Not locked into that, but I think that's a viable strategy now.
Matt, I'm going to stick with you. Why have you got a little bit cold on Farnworth?
There were rumours around Isaiah Katoa having a bit of a niggle and potentially not playing this week. Now he's been named, so I don't know how true that is or not. I think Herbie is a good fine pick. I do think, though, I just want a little bit more balance potentially in my squad. I've got Kiraz already as another high-priced centre wing. And I truly think that Brian To'o on the left, I've gone back and done the stats, and I think To'o averages 6 to 8 points, I can't remember which it was, higher when he plays left wing for the Panthers. So he's pushing up, nudging a 70-plus average on the left wing in the last 3 years. And so I think he could potentially match Herbie. And that was where I was at. The other thing, which we should bring up, and this shouldn't come into it for round 1, but I think when you're spending $800K on a player, it does. That Dolphins Rabbitohs match is a monsoon is forecast. There is 80 millimetres of rain forecast that afternoon in Brisbane. So it is going to be wet. So if
Didn't that happen last year?
Didn't
that happen last year in round 1? They had to move the game.
Yeah, they had to move the game to Parramatta.
Right.
So same again. I don't know even if they're going to play this week, but it is going to pour rain in Brisbane Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
So just all of those things all in just is making me just a little bit squeaky on Herbie.
I don't like that weather. I don't like that weather, Chad. Has that come from your Norwegian weather website, or is
Why, I
that
don't know.
Ooh. The Norwegians don't get it wrong. They don't miss
very
the weather.
rarely. Very rarely.
That's interesting because then that affects a couple of other, relevant super coaches. Obviously, Latrell Mitchell is a popular one, but I was looking at starting Campbell Graham, and I'd be downgrading Campbell Graham to Moses Leo. And I think this chat has got me doing exactly that at the moment.
Wow. Very interesting. Choose. What about Selwyn Cobbo? Because we've spoken a lot. I think you coined it, Cobworth. Does this news about the weather or just your general feelings towards Selwyn Cobbo as we get closer to the SuperCoach season?
I've gone a little bit cold on the Dolphins and on Cobworth. There's a world where they come out and average, 90 to 100, both of them to start the year. But I'm laying that they can't keep it going. And I looked a little bit into the stats. Like, I'm not a stats man like you, Jono. I don't look into the data. But I did look at it and I didn't think Bostock scored as well as what people think that he did outside of Herbie last year whilst Herbie was playing. He obviously had a couple of very, very big games, but he did also not see a huge amount of ball. So I've sort of gone cold on Cobbo for those reasons.
Yeah, he's out of my team as well. I still think I can understand why people would get around the stack. One thing I wouldn't be doing, I've seen some squad drafts where they have Cobbo and not Herbie. That's definitely not one. I think for me, if I'm getting Cobbo, it means that Herbie is in my team as well.
Yeah, you're getting Cobworth or you're not getting either.
Well, no, I'm going to get Farnworth without Cobbo, but I wouldn't get Cobbo without Farnworth. You know what I mean?
Well, nah. Yeah, maybe. I know what you mean, but I don't agree. I disagree.
No, fair enough.
We'll move forward.
Look, Choose, you mentioned Latrell Mitchell. I think it's been interesting seeing a lot of people's school of thoughts after a pretty lackluster first half in the Rabbitohs trial. I've seen some people be really negative. Oh, this is what happens. Trell, he's going to have those moments where he's not interested. And then I've seen other people like yourself, Tubes, who go, okay, all that's true. He just got 54 points in a game where he did absolutely nothing. Matt, where do you land on that scale with Latrell Mitchell?
Yeah, I did flirt with him, with Toto coming in for him today at some point. But no, I think at that ownership, Trell's just too good to not own. So I'm going to own him. The weather's not going to put me off. He's sort of a buy that I want to have till Origin. I think he can average 70 plus. And he's obviously, we know he's got the ceiling with that goal kick. And if with South's decent early draw, I'm just going to lock him in as one of my two gun centre wings.
Yeah, and Choose, you mentioned Campbell Graham. I think he's a good option still. Like, he's a base man. I am concerned that he's had some time off training over the off-season with some injuries because he's had such a bad injury history. But the flip side is how good did the Rabbitohs look in that trial and his combination with Jackie Whiten. And, Matt, I know you're not a Jackie Whiten fan. You and I have had a bit of back and forth about him off air in the past. I think Jack Whiten's a really good NRL player, and I think he does have quite good quick hands for a centre. And I don't mind Campbell Graham being outside him. So I think Campbell Graham is a good option at 431k, but I am mindful of how many Rabbitohs is too many Rabbitohs with a round 4 bye and a Brisbane monsoon coming up. Tubes?
And the big call is just this 5 cheapies thing. If you go 5 cheapies, you're not getting Campbell Graham. You're getting 2 guns and then you're getting 5 cheapies. If you're going 4 cheapies, 2 guns, then Campbell Graham sort of slots in nicely there as that sort of third decent centre wing option without paying the absolute premium. So I think that's really the structure. And I think he's a decent option, but if I go 5 cheap centre wings, he'll be the one to go from my team.
Matt, any last thoughts on Brian To'o before we move into the next position? You gave him a good rev up.
Yeah, no, I think he can. I really, really like him on the left outside Casey McLean. We know that Casey was a bit of a glue hands last year, but I think
only for the first half.
Yeah,
that changed back end.
He's a sensational player, Casey, and I'm looking forward to Toto being outside him, and I really want to own him. I can see why he's popular at 20%. I expect the Panthers to start fast. Tough matchup round 1, but Big Bad Brian's got that safe floor, we know, and he'll be looking for plenty of work.
I wish I'd not got Stephen Crichton and had Brian To'o in my team this week. I know Crichton scored well, but I have some question marks over that performance. I kind of just wish I had the safety of Big Bad Brian.
Dean Mariner is shaking in his boots, right now. He's having nightmares about Brian To'o this weekend once he found out he was on the left.
All right, we'll see if that comes true. Hopefully he gets a couple of good nights sleep, Dean, before the big game. Let's get down to fullback. Keano Kinney. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on Keano Kinney. We've given him enough airtime, but I do love the little chatter that Kinney might goal kick with Jaden Campbell out. We'll see if that pans out because that'd be incredible. The Storm fullback, Sua Fa'alongo, who is in my team currently in my flex. I do like that the flex is a true flex this year. In saying that, I've got a fullback there. I know I looked at toying around with some other options like a Stefano Udakamano, who will come up in a segment soon. But I just think it's the upside of having a fullback there. I think at 511K, he's not going to go below that. And with the player he's shown glimpses of being, we could blink and he's a 750K guy with a couple of huge games there. Matt, I know he's been a really tough one for you to make decisions on, and he's currently out of the squad as it stands.
He is. And Jono, I was nodding away with you as you were waxing lyrical about Sua there. But internally, I was nodding harder. I was like, everything you were saying was what I was feeling. How obvious does it feel about Kalyn Ponga last week and starting with him at 600K sitting here tonight? I feel like that could easily be Sua Fa'alongo next week, coming up with a big ton against the Eels this week. I think he's a superb pick. I just think with my build now, I'm pretty keen to get this centre wing at flex. So he's unfortunately, I think, going to be the one to drop out.
Tubes, I really liked your Jai Gray thoughts on our mid-range pod from a couple of weeks ago. Do you want to kind of just give us the cliff notes on those, if you even remember them yourself, because you spoke very well about it. You seem surprised at me saying you spoke well about it at the time.
I do not remember speaking about Jai Gray. Jesus, feels like a year ago. Why don't you give us the cliff notes and I'll jump back in and see how we go.
Tubes, you basically said that at 560K, he's a fine option, but you see him kind of being a 65 to 70 average guy. You didn't see him going into that elite status, whereas you said with a Sua Fa'alongo and a Kinney, you think they have more upside to become an actual gun premium fullback. Does that still sound true for you?
Sounds like something I'd say. I do think that's 100% true. Clip that up.
Clip up this one or the original one for the mid-range pod?
Either or.
Nice.
I don't think Gray's
probably you. It's your
Fa'alongo.
Your face, Jono, that gets clipped up. So I think they'll be clipping that one up.
Matt.
Yeah, I was just saying I don't think Gray's viable whatsoever against Fa'alongo.
No, fair enough. I think I agree. All right, a couple of really big expensive options. Reece Walsh. I mean, geez, I'm scared not to own Reece. I just can't quite do it at that price tag. Maybe if I just traded Herbie Farmworth down to Moses Leo, I could find the cash to go with Reece Walsh, but I can't do it at that price. Tubes has made his thoughts on James Tedesco pretty clear, at least maybe not from a SuperCoach perspective. Matt, why is James Tedesco so under-discussed this year? 12% owned. It hasn't been that low in probably 10 years for James Tedesco coming into a season. So what is it about Teddy that's keeping people off?
Oh, he's overpriced. I think that's the crux of it. He comes down on the new stats. He's a year older. They got a very well-balanced side this year, the Chooks. I got no doubt Teddy will be a great SuperCoach asset. He's been going top 3 in every single draft league that I've been in. I just think at 835K, you can spend your money in much better places. And I think I'm actually surprised to see his ownership that high. I don't think it should be that high.
Yeah, nice. Wow, Tubes, what do you think? I know you mentioned about from the Sam Walker perspective, but what do you think of Teddy coming into SuperCoach this year?
Yeah, I just agree with Matt. He's too highly priced. I'd say you've still got the casuals that set up their team that haven't yet fully grasped the concept of pricing in SuperCoach that are beefing out his numbers is how I would say it.
All right, let's get down to our final segment of the show, fellas. It is back for the first time this year. Pod of the week. I'm going to start off because I think mine's the most boring. And it's a man who might even be more boring because I've spoken about him at length on the Baller content all preseason. It's Stefano Udakamanu. And I think the reason he's on the pod of the week sheet for me is because I'm trying to convince myself into bringing him back into my team. He's gone for Hopgood as it stands, but I don't know. Maybe I can talk myself back into it because I really like him. I've quoted the stats before. He's priced at a 51 average. His post-Origin run, where he averaged 53 minutes for the Storm, he averaged like 65 points with only one try in that stretch. So it was just coming from his big base plus power game. I really like this Storm bench. They got Wishy, Clark, Kamakamitha, Mawali. I think that's a great bench for Stefano. I feel very confident of his 55-ish minute role. And I think he really showed the back end of last year that he is a freak player who has a big SuperCoach upside with his power game. So for me, I think he's a great pot at 515K. He's only 5% owned as it stands, and I would love an excuse to bring him back into my team. Like if word comes through of a little Jermaine Hopgood niggle in any way, Stefano's getting straight back in there.
Speaking of excuses, Jono, I've been waiting to come on a pod. I've been waiting to get on a pod where Stefano's been brought up because I haven't been on one all preseason. I've been looking for an excuse to shit on him, and you've just given me one here.
Let's go.
You mentioned that post-Origin run, he averaged 65. That is as good as he can possibly go. I don't see where does the upside come from. All I can see is him regressing back to a 51. I think that's just as likely as him averaging 65. Where you look at someone like Hopgood or all these other great, well-priced forwards who are, going to beat their price by 10 points, and I think but that's in a sort of 60 to 70% range that's going to happen. I just don't think we can say that with any level of confidence for Stefano, and I'm going no. He's not even entered the thoughts to come into my team once this whole preseason.
Fair enough. I'll rebuttal back off air because we're going long, and I want to hear from Tubes and his pot of the week.
Yeah, I feel like I used all my pods at Vegas, so I'm a little bit annoyed that I'm coming up with a pod of the week and he won't be in my team to start the year. So that's my disclaimer. But I like the look of Nick Meaney. Goal kicking for the Storm this year, definitely with Pappenhausen gone. He's now been named on the wing. I'm assuming that's going to be left wing, covering for Xavier Coates. Which is obviously a very profitable wing and in a profitable team for the Storm. They will start favourites in many games that they play for this year, and he will score many tries and he will kick many goals. So that's pretty much as simple as it is.
And score many SuperCoach points.
Yes. He's 590 odd K. Like he sits at that decent price range that he could easily have upside as a flyer. And then obviously if Sewer does get injured or isn't as explosive as what we saw, means that their automatic fullback cover from there as well. So he has additional upside.
Tubes, Nick Meaney Baller projections 69 for the first 8 rounds. So the Baller projections agree with you.
They usually do.
There might be people wondering why in fullback we didn't talk about a certain player. Give us your pot of the week.
But we didn't talk about 2. So we didn't talk about Reece Walsh. He's not my pot of the week.
We did talk about Reece Walsh.
Did we? Did I miss that?
I just said I'm scared not to own him at that price.
I just wanted to say I've been trying to hold back because of time, but I just want to say one thing quickly on Reece Walsh, Jono, and that is from round 4, that is going to be a scary non-own. So I can see if people are bringing him in at the start to own him from that round 4 run onwards, that I can get around that. I will not be owning him. I think he's overpriced. My pot of the week is Tom Trbojevic, fullback for the Manly Seagulls, 692K. He, I think, is very underpriced. Ballr have got him projected 78 points per game for the first 8 rounds. They've got a delightful first 8-round draw. They miss, I think, round 3 with a bye, but other than that, they've got a lot of games at 4 Pines and then some really great matchups against some relatively terrible teams. I just think there is not a person listening to this podcast that would not have been burnt by Tom Turbo in the past, and also probably not many that wouldn't have felt the joy that he's owning Tom Turbo when he's striding through for his 4th try or 16th try assist for a match. So I just think round 1 is the perfect time to own him. It is the only week that you are guaranteed that he's not injured all year. They're at home. They're at Brookie. We know how dominant he can be at Brookvale. And I just, like I said about Sewer, I just feel like we could be sitting here this time next week and Turbo just looks so obvious in hindsight. How do we not own one of the best SuperCoach players at a discount? He was so injury impacted all last year from round 3. And I'm just going to give him a chance. I just think it's high upside pick. And if I don't, then I've always got the trapdoor after round 2 before that bye to drop down to Kalyn Ponga.
Yeah, 6.5% is crazy ownership for Tom Trbojevic, fairly priced. He's going to have to do everything at Manly. So I think it's a great pot of the week, Matt. And I think he's an awesome one that you're actually bringing into your team for round 1. So well done. Hope it works out for you. All right, fellas, that brings us out to a close. Big, deep dive into SuperCoach Christmas Tubes. I'm just going to wrap up with your favourite cliche there for the round 1 Teamless Tuesday. I've had a lot of fun, fellas. Give me some things to ponder. There's definitely a couple of changes I'm close to making into my SuperCoach team. Don't know about you boys, but Matt, looking forward to seeing how your team shapes up for this week. Thanks, as always, for jumping on.
Mate, pleasure. And I'm sorry it's gone so long, listener. I think it's just... As Jono said, SuperCoach Christmas TLT round 1, there is so much to unpack, so we have to spend a bit of time on it. And I hope it's all worth it. You've got this far, and best of luck this week to all our listeners.
Matt, you're making up for last week where you're a bit distracted.
Correct.
You this week were locked in, and you had a lot to say. Well done. Hopefully you steer some people in the right direction.
Thanks, mate.
Tubes, I really hope you continue this hot start. I hope that next time you're on, I'm introducing you first as the highest ranked baller contributor again. And can you give us a big, passionate go home?
Look, Jono, I know you're looking around this pod out, and I just got a couple more things to say. So just you'll have to indulge me for a minute. Whenever Matt says he's done a lot of prep, we know it's going to be a long pod. So you just got to gear yourself up for anyone that's new to listen. But I do want to say, and you'll forgive me, Matt, but I forgot about the baller projections and how important they are to actually thinking about your side and coming up with these things. They are just unbelievable how much more accurate and how much closer they are to what's real and compared to, say, the SuperCoach Gold. And even I've loved tonight where I've been talking about Angus Crichton, and I love making up stuff and going through things, but then you're giving me the real Angus Crichton baller projections, what he's looking at for the next 4 or 5 rounds. So I'm going to be going away from this and not just using the team builder to rate my team, but actually looking at what are my team projecting? What does the projections look like? What are the next couple of weeks? And how does that look? And that's something that I didn't think about coming into this podcast. So it's very enjoyable. So thanks for indulging me, boys. And you tea.